جی صاحب السلام علیکم ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ. خوش آمدید. ہم عارفہ مظفر آپ کے ساتھ
اور ہم ایز یوزول عبدالماجد جمال آپ کی خدمت میں حاضر ہیں ایک اور سیگمنٹ آف ساز و آواز کے ساتھ.
یس. مگر میں ہمیشہ یہ کہا کرتی ہوتی ہوں, حقیقت میں ہم میں سے بہت سے لوگ جب یہاں پہ آئے اپنے بچوں کے بہترین مستقبل کے لیے, تعلیم کے لیے, بہت سے لوگ اپنی بہتر تعلیم کے لیے یہاں پہ آئے اور بہت سے لوگوں نے یہاں سے اچھی تعلیم حاصل کی, بیک ہوم واپس بھی گئے. میں نے ہمیشہ کہا کہ آئی فیل مائی سیلف لکی انف کہ بہت سے اچھے لوگوں کی سپورٹ رہی. آج کے پروگرام میں ہمارے خاص مہمان ہیں اور ڈاکٹر مرتضیٰ حیدر ایسوسیٹ پروفیسر ہیں. میں ڈاکٹر مرتضیٰ حیدر کی اگر پروفائل آپ کے ساتھ شیئر کرنا لگوں گی تو یقیناً آئی تھنک یو ول ڈیفینیٹلی ٹیک دا پرائڈ. بائی دا وے, بہت سے لوگ جو جرنلسٹس کو جانتے ہیں وہ یقیناً ان کو دیکھ کے پہچان بھی جائیں گے. اور ڈاکٹر صاحب یہاں پہ ٹیڈ راجرز اسکول آف مینجمنٹ کے ساتھ ایسوسیٹ پروفیسر کے طور پر وابستہ ہیں. ڈاکٹر صاحب نے بہت سی فیلڈ پہ کام کرتے ہیں, یہاں کے میڈیا کے ساتھ وابستہ ہے. پاکستان میں ایک بہترین جرنلسٹ کے طور پر آپ نے خدمات انجام دی. یہاں کے نیوز پیپرز میں ڈاکٹر صاحب کے آرٹیکلز بھی آتے ہیں. اور ڈاکٹر صاحب again it can be a help, can be a mentor for the parents کہ آپ نے اپنے بچوں کی اپ برنگنگ میں کن چیزوں کو مد نظر رکھنا ہے, کن فیلڈز کا آپ نے انتخاب کرنا ہے. اور ڈاکٹر مرتضیٰ حیدر میں جب دیکھ رہی تھی, اور یہ مرتضیٰ حیدر از ایسوسیٹ پروفیسر آف ریئل اسٹیٹ مینجمنٹ ایٹ دا ٹیڈ راجرز اسکول آف مینجمنٹ رائرسن یونیورسٹی. ہی از آلسو اینڈ پروفیسر آف دا فیکلٹی آف دا انجینئرنگ ایٹ دا میگل. اور بہت ساری چیزیں لکھی ہوئی ہیں, بہت سارے اخباروں میں لکھتے ہیں آپ. بے انتہا آپ نے کام کیا. ڈاکٹر ملیحہ لودھی صاحبہ کے ساتھ آپ نے پاکستان میں ایز اے جرنلسٹ کام کرنے کا آپ کو موقع ملا. تھینک یو ویری مچ فار جوائننگ اس.
تھینک یو فار ہیونگ می.
اور ان کے ساتھ بیٹھے ہیں جناب ٹیگو امت. Did I do it right for the first time?
Yes, perfect.
Hey, no cut. MBA Recruitment Advisor, Ted Rogers MBA, Office of the Dean. And welcome both of you.
Thank you.
To our show.
Thank you.
As I said before, Dr. Murtaza has played a very important role in very many different things. Very active person here. Data analytics mein, development in South Asia, housing and real estate, integrated transportation, land use, jo modeling hai iske bare municipal and urban governance, public transit, real estate market dynamics, trade and freight. Yani بے شمار چیزوں پہ ان کی دسترس ہے. ڈاکٹر صاحب آج we will definitely I'll switch to English now. I'll keep on switching. Dr. Saab doesn't know about this, but you know, I communicate with you and I communicate with them as well. Dr. Saab, today I thank you very much for time once again, and as I said before, that you can be a guideline for the parents to choose or to help their children to select a field which direction they want to go. Master of Business Administration, when we talk about Master of Business Administration.
Before you go any further, there is something bothering me. I'm saying that, you know, there is MBA, and you said Master of Business Administration. Is there such a thing as BBA?
Bachelor of Business Administration.
But is there a thing? Because
I think there must be, most universities offer a BCom, Bachelor's of Commerce. I'm pretty sure there is a BBA degree.
Because in Pakistan they used to be BBA.
Yes.
I mean, they used to do BBA first and then MBA.
Yeah.
But here, because of the university's involvement, then they don't do BBA, they directly go to MBAs?
No, not really. The way it works here is that we have designated the business degree at the undergraduate level. I think if I recall correctly, most universities have a Bachelor of Commerce degree that is called BCom. And then those who would like to study further, they can do a master's. One of the options is a master's in business administration. However, I must say that a large number of individuals who pursue a master's in business administration do not have a bachelor's of commerce degree. That's not a prerequisite, that you must have a commerce degree or a BBA to pursue a master's in business administration.
So that was my question, that you don't really have to go through commerce or bachelor's in order for you to
No, so the Master's in Business Administration is an applied professional degree, and you can, if you want, switch to it even after engineering or social sciences as your undergraduate. And mind you, you can do a Master's in engineering without being an engineer. That's also not a hesitation or a restriction, that you can do a Bachelor of Science in, say, physics, and then pursue a Master's in engineering. You wouldn't be called an engineer, but you certainly can be a Master's in engineering.
But there is a relation between doing CA and MBA, because there are a lot of people who does CA, they go for MBA.
Or maybe the other way around, that people who have a MBA degree from a university pursue this professional designation of CA. CA is not offered by universities. CA is a professional designation. Mm-hmm. So you go to the university to do an undergraduate or a master's degree, in this case a master's in business administration. But if you have an inclination towards accounting, you may go towards CA.
So in a nutshell, for a mother, I would say, if I want my son to go get into Master of Business Administration, and if he undergraduates in science or something, he can get into?
Absolutely. Now, I have a personal bias. I'm an engineer by training, so I think the best combination is engineering plus a business degree. But if you have done a generic bachelor's in, say, political science or history or statistics or economics, you can pursue an MBA. However, those who have done a sort of a numeracy-oriented degree, such as economics, statistics, or engineering, they have a much better rate of success in a business MBA career or pursuing an MBA. At the same time, people who pursue or study psychology do very well in an MBA program.
So,
yes.
Yeah. So MBA itself is a degree, but you can mix and match with other degrees with that. Is that
So think about it, that it's a next step up in your learning, and it's a next step up from an undergraduate degree. The way it works, ideally, I think in all major MBA offering universities in Canada, and by extension United States, you require 3 basic components. You have to have 3 qualifications to be able to successfully apply for an MBA program. Number 1 is a bachelor's degree. You have to have 16 years of education. That's a minimum, and which means high school, that is 12 years, plus an undergraduate degree, that's 4 more years. If that degree is in Bachelor of Commerce, good. If it's in engineering, good. If it's in sciences, good. If it's in humanities or social sciences, good. As long as you have a numerate mind, you're good. So that's one, undergraduate degree. Second thing is that good programs prefer that you have at least 2 years of work experience. So you simply cannot do an undergraduate degree and then jump into an MBA. That's a big difference between MBA and other master's degrees, that all good programs require you to have at least 2 years of professional work experience. And then the last thing is this qualifying test, which is called GMAT. And all good universities, all good programs in North America require GMAT exams or tests. In GMAT, you do a series of tests and then prepare for it first and then write the test. And then if you have a minimum of 550, that qualifies you to be applying to good schools. I would say in Canada, starting with my university, Ryerson University, or other schools in Toronto such as Schulich and Rotman, or DeGroote at McMaster, and there's an MBA at University of Ontario Institutes of Technology, UOIT. There's an MBA at Wilfrid Laurier University. So all these programs do require these 3 things: an undergraduate degree, 2 years of professional work experience, and a GMAT score. And if you have these 3, irrespective of what your undergraduate degree is in, you are eligible to apply for a Master's of Business Administration.
So do you have gradings, okay, MBAs, yes. In Waterloo, they teach MBA. University of Toronto, they teach MBA. Ryerson, they teach MBA. Schulich, everybody knows about Schulich. Okay, so how do you grade those ones? Okay, which is where?
The funny thing is, unlike other programs like in engineering or sciences, MBA programs are ranked. for good or for worse, they are ranked. No one ranks engineering program. This is the top engineering program. But MBA programs are ranked, and then there are, for example, in Canada, we have the Canadian Business Magazine ranking. I take great pride in mentioning that when I was the associate dean for the MBA programs, Teguh was on my team. We were ranked 4th in Canada. The Ted Rogers School of Management was ranked 4th in Canada by the Canadian Business Magazine. Then you have international rankings. Economist Magazine ranks business schools. And then you have Financial Times ranking. I remember a few years ago, Concordia University in Montreal was ranked very high, certainly very high, by Economist Magazine. I'm excited to share it with our viewers that Ted Rogers School of Management at Ryerson University is ranked among the top 100 MBA programs globally. So there are rankings. You can look at us. You can look at other programs. The goal is to figure out what is the right fit. And the right fit could mean any dimension. Some programs are very expensive, not to mention by names, but the top tier programs in Canada, you mentioned a few, you have to pay about $100,000 plus in tuition fee. So if you have $100,000 to put towards tuition, then maybe you consider those programs. Then there are the middle of the pack programs. They charge anywhere between $40,000 to $70,000. And then there are affordable programs that would not put you in debt, that would not make you get a mortgage just to pay for your education, and that's where Ryerson comes in and other programs like Ryerson University. I think the quality of education, given that education in Ontario and by extension in Canada is regulated, good quality control, there's not much difference in quality. What differs is the alumni network. You mentioned Schulich. Schulich is unique in a sense that it's one of the oldest programs, not the oldest in Canada is the one at Western University. It's the first MBA program offered anywhere outside of the United States. I think in the 50s, Western started it. So even though it's the oldest, it's still not the largest in terms of the alumni network. Schulich, on the other hand, has a very large alumni network. What it means for you is that when you go for a job and you're sitting at an interview and they say, where did you do your MBA? And I said, I did my MBA at Schulich. The person sitting across from you is more likely to be from Schulich because they have the largest alumni base. So this makes a difference. But at the same time, the year that we were ranked 4th by Canadian Business Magazine, they also ranked us very high for our reputation with the employers. That is the Ted Rogers School of Management's reputation with the employers. So even though with a very small base of, say, 600 alums, we started a program in 2007. So we had a very small program with very small base of alums out there. Still, we had a very good reputation. So it doesn't really mean that you have to wait for 40, 50, 100,000 alums out there for a good reputation. You can start building your reputation quicker. So from a student perspective, from someone, if you are a parent or if you're an individual thinking about an MBA, think about where do you want to work. And this is also very relevant for your fit. And the reason being, let's say you want to work in Vancouver. Then there's much value in pursuing an MBA in Vancouver, either with the Sauder School of Business at British Columbia, University of British Columbia, or at the other schools in British Columbia, primarily because they have the network, they have the support network, they have the job placement facilities that are very close and closely tied to the local labor markets. But if you want to work in Toronto, then I would say doing an MBA in the Greater Toronto area, it's much more preferable because you will be studying in Toronto, but more importantly, the universities will provide you with job placement services using their extensive networks in the local labor market, and that is Toronto. So that is also part of the fit. You have to be very mindful of it. Money matters, where you want to work matters, what kind of work you want to do. For example, if you want to study high finance, like you want to specialize in your MBA in finance, then I would say, look for where the top tier professors are in high finance. Fortunately, they are in Toronto, University of Toronto. The book on derivatives is written by Professor John C. Hull, and Hull teaches at University of Toronto. Right? So why not go and take a course in derivatives by the person who wrote the book on the subject, right? So,
very, very good topic. We could continue this, but Arfaji.
A break, and we will come back.
Yeah.
Stay tuned, please. Welcome back. I have another guest here, Teguh Amit here with me, and MBA recruitment advisor, and he's from Ted Rogers MBA Office of the Dean. Teguh, my question to you is, as Dr. Haider told about different universities for the MBA, my question to you is, tell us why someone should consider getting admission in the Ryerson in MBA.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I would say that the Ted Rogers MBA is one of the best schools in Toronto. I mean, you can call me biased, but...
No, but Dr. Haider didn't say. He mentioned Shulak, and he mentioned Rotman and other...
Yeah. I mean, there are great schools in the city of Toronto. I would say that across Canada, there are some great schools. But what really sets us apart is we're one of the only schools that I know of in the city that offers an MBA with a management of technology and innovation. Now, this is really different from what other offerings are right now in the market, and it goes to Ryerson's core of being very technology focused and a driver in that field.
But you take it for granted. You know, myself, Farfai, and all the people who are watching you don't know what that is. Explain us.
Oh, sure. So, so it takes the principles that you learn in your traditional MBA from your finance and accounting, but it is now positioned in an area that embraces the challenges of the business that is coming in the future. So it's going to be teaching our students and our alumni, how to manage technology, how to implement new technology, and how to spearhead, the issues from legacy systems to labor issues, the challenges that AI right now is facing, different economies from China and most likely in the South Asia area. So it's one of these degrees that is so unique and so ahead of the curve that there aren't a lot of players right now that are offering something very, very similar. But I like to call it the MBA 2.0. So this 2.0. So this is the MBA, for the future, and this is something that a lot of students right now and a lot of prospective students are really interested in, because quite honestly, can you tell me a company on the planet that doesn't have technology issues?
There you go.
Right.
But you mentioned alumni too.
Yeah.
Okay, so not only that you got the degree and you're gone and you're working somewhere in practical life, but you teach alumni the technology too?
No, so what we do is we try to engage our alumni base as much as possible through having them come back on campus and mentor new students and work with them closely. We also have the executive in residence program that brings industry leaders, either currently employed or recently retired, that work with our students and our alumni as well. And we're seeing a lot of uptake, a lot of improvement in our exit salaries. Right now, we have the third highest exit salary in Canada. We're average 109,000 Canadian dollars, which is, for a program that's been around for about 11 years, is quite remarkable. And that just goes back to...
That's amazing.
It is, yeah.
One of the thing I just realized is to bringing in alumni mean creating opportunity for the newcomers, because these alumni must be placed somewhere in the society at the high positions, and they can be the recruiters for the newcomers.
Yeah, for sure. They become our biggest brand ambassadors. They're the easiest way to, go and get new and more talented students is through the word of the alumni.
Can I jump on it? Because this used to be the biggest selling point, and it's increasingly becoming even a bigger selling point for Ted Rogers MBA at Ryerson University. I mentioned earlier that you may have to pay $100,000 in tuition fee or more if you were to choose an expensive MBA in Toronto. But then you come to Ryerson University, and Ryerson University MBA tuition for Canadian and permanent residents is under $30,000.
Yes.
Nothing.
So it's 1/3 or less than 1/3 of the cost. But then you go into the market after you've gotten an MBA, and now you enter the labor market along with the graduates from other universities such as University of Toronto and York University. and then you are able to get an exit salary. Exit salary is the salary that you get, the first salary that you receive after an MBA, and if that number is around $100,000 plus, now consider your return on investment. You had a $30,000 investment with a $100,000 perpetual return and growing, versus you take a big debt of about $100,000. And most of these expensive programs actually take your application, give it to a bank, and the bank gives you a line of credit, and that line of credit pays for your tuition. So you start with an indebtedness in real terms, literally indebted, and then you take off your careers. But you come to Ryerson University or a program like Ryerson University that does not burden you with so much debt, provides you with quality education. And one measure and metric of quality education is that your starting salaries after MBA is averaging around $100,000 plus. So your return on investment on programs like Ted Rogers at Ryerson and others like us is much higher than to say that I'm just going to go to the top university, top ranked university. And during 2008-9, I have first-hand experience of people during the recession coming to me saying, we just did an MBA at the top tier school, we don't have a job, we thought we would, top tier school would give us right away a job, but that's not the case. And then I made them explain, I helped them understand that, look, it's not it's not a problem with the school, it's just the market is not there. So what I'm trying to tell you is that top tier schools are good in quality, they give quality education, but that difference in quality is not there so much that you say, I'm only going to consider top tier schools. Because we are provincially regulated, our quality metrics are very comparable, and then you focus on return on investment, and I don't know how you're going to beat Ted Rogers.
So curriculum is same in all these
curriculum, books, textbooks is same. I think the bigger difference is the graduates, when they become alumni and they go out, and if you have a program that has been in existence for 50 years, so some of their alumni have been in the market for 50 years, they are now CEOs and executives, right? So that makes a big difference.
This was my next question. I just came to know that MBA, it started around 100 years back in America, and the first non-American university was University of Western. Now, you were talking, but of course people are conscious, brand conscious. You were talking about Sholak and other good institutions. My question to you is, Dr. Haider, how many well-placed students from Western University, which are CEOs and other, or from Rotman or from other good institutions as compared to Ryerson?
So,
because people are sometimes, they become biased. This is a student from my own university, so those students get preference.
Absolutely. These biases do exist at a subconscious level. People do not discriminate, but then there's when you come to me and I'm, let's say, interviewing, and then you say, well, I went to University of Toronto where I studied, and then so when did you go to? Say, I just graduated, and then I'll start asking about the professors that I studied. Oh yeah, I took a course with that professor. So there's a bondage that happens. There's the bonding exercise that happens right away. The question to
breaking
ask,
of ice.
It breaks ice. There's a shared experience, even though not at the same time.
So that's what my question is. How many well-positioned and highly ranked CEOs from other universities as compared to Ryerson?
It would be hard for us to say this because we just started producing MBAs in 2007. So there will be several mid to high senior career professionals from our MBA program.
So you started very recently?
Very recently, in 2007. So compare us to someone that has been producing graduates in MBA program from 1960s, and there's going to be a difference. The question to ask is, you look at the individuals who had graduated in 2016, let's say, and look at the graduating class in 2016 from these schools, and then compare their placement and see if they are doing equally well.
Do you have any data for that?
So we collect data. So does every school, every business school. Business schools are different from other programs. I did my master's in engineering at the University of Toronto. We had absolutely zero support for career placement. There was no career office for us in the Faculty of Engineering. I think that continues to be
University of Toronto.
In the University University of Toronto, and I think that continues to be the case. And I don't know why the deans of engineering in Canada do not pay attention to it. They look at the models in the business faculties, and there's a good reason. I have been advocating this to my senior colleagues in engineering, that you
doesn't work
and because everybody gets some employment right away because engineers are in demand. So we never approach this from the perspective of what if we had career counselors and career placement officers. So could we have had even a better return on their placements? And I think we can. But going back to the business schools, I think we all collect data, and that's why Teguh rightly told you what's the exit salary. And those salaries are actually reported in a publication called Canadian Business. So once a year, Canadian Business produces this MBA special issue. In that issue, they tell you what's the size of the program, what's the cutoff for GMAT, how long is the program. Some programs are longer in duration. Ours is 12 months, some are 16 months, and still there are some that are 24 months in duration. And then you ask yourself, let's look at the exit salaries, and the exit salaries are listed by program. So there's one for Desautels at McGill, Concordia, Schulich, Rotman, Sauder School of Business, Richard Ivey at Western University, and Ted Rogers. And then you look at it, you look at the tuition, and that's why I say again and again, you look at the tuition, you look at the exit salary, and add another column for yourself, the return on investment, and that is take the exit salary divided by the tuition and see if anybody beats Ted Rogers.
In practical life, I think Ryerson has made the name. Once you go into practical, I'm not talking only about MBAs, regardless of which degree you take from there. By the way, I'm Ryerson alumni too, so I'm biased.
Well, you know what, to that point, the Ryerson Business School is the largest business school in Canada. So we might not have, the number of MBA alumni in the city or across Canada or internationally. But because we are producing, I think, 9,000 undergrads?
We have about 10,000 full-time students in our undergraduate program. Yeah. We are the largest undergraduate business program in Canada, and we are so large that we are in fact larger in enrollment than 50 plus universities in Canada.
There you are.
So if you look at the alumni network at the undergraduate level, no one can beat us. We have the largest program. Yeah. And obviously that program delivers a large crowd. We probably graduate 1,500 to 2,000 students a year, and we have been doing it for decades. Yeah. So there is a very wide network of Ryerson alumni from the BCom program, and they are very well placed in Toronto mostly, but also across Canada.
Dr. Saab, hold your thoughts. We'll come back. We'll take a little break and come back. Please stay tuned. This is very important segment. That's our future. That's for our children. Welcome back once again, and I have Dr. Murtaza Haider with me from Ted Rogers School of Management. Dr. Haider, being a South Asian mother, and I was a daughter once upon a time, I had brothers, sisters, all the South Asian parents, the only professions which come to our mind is medicine or engineering. Dr. Naveed, you might know him, he's very highly placed here, and he told me, he shared a story with me, and he said, in grade 11, my drawing was very good, and I had a very good drawing, and I took it to my father. My father was 9, and I said, I'll be an artist. And my father, he sat on the couch, and he said, I don't want to hear this word ever again. I want to see you as a doctor. And he changed his mind. He became, mashallah, he was in charge of emergency department. He's doing phenomenal job here, wonderful man. So my question to you is, as a mother or as a South Asian, there are a couple of professions in our mind. That is medicine, that is an engineer, or to do CSS exam and get into those kind of jobs. Never thought of MBA. Yes, people have done it. They are placed very well. Because I was looking at it, it's a career. It's a lot more income potential is also there. So, how would open our mind?
I think what happens is that when immigrants come from home countries, and let's look at India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh, their primary frame of reference remains their home countries. And if you look at these three countries in South Asia, and even in China, their first preference is a government job because there's pension stability. And then there is the medicine, the doctor, because there's a tremendous disease burden in these countries, so medicine is highly regarded. And engineering, because all engineers get a job and they have poor infrastructure, they have to build infrastructure for another 100 years, so engineers will always be employed. So these are the three reference points, government job, engineering, and medicine. The emergence of private enterprise is a new thing. And it's a new thing because it primarily happened after 90s. And if you take India as a reference point, India started to liberalize its economy in 1990s. So, which meant that after that, you see the emergence of private enterprise firms and companies and large companies. So now one of the biggest companies in India is Infosys, a technology-driven company that employs thousands of experts and professionals. And so is the case with others, Tata Steel and Tata Businesses and others. Same is the case with Bangladesh and Pakistan. When the private enterprise started to rise, and that happened after 1990, then it created a demand for business managers. I give you the examples of the Pakistani prestigious school and business school, that's LUMS, Lahore University of Management Sciences. And when they asked the founder of LUMS, Babar Ali, who runs a big company called Packages, Babar said he sat down with his fellow executives and said, what's missing in Pakistan? And they said, now we have started to grow our businesses and we can see an increased demand for managers, business managers, but there's not enough good programs. At that time, there was only one in Karachi Institute of Business Administration. So Babar Ali pooled resources from his executive colleagues, and then they set in place this amazing place of learning called LUMS in Lahore, Pakistan. And that was primarily driven by the need by the private sector. So when parents who have migrated before 1990s or around that time, they failed to experience the emergence of private enterprise. So now they come here in a different labor market where private sector provides far more jobs than the government sector, the public sector, and that the private enterprise is the main driver of job creation. And the private enterprise drives all sorts of demands, including business managers and professionals who would work in the business enterprise. So hence the need for business graduates. At this very point in North America, I think business graduates outnumber graduates of any other program. It's the largest number of degrees granted in North America, including United States, Canada, and Mexico. So what it tells us is that when you as a parent are thinking about your children's future, think about the needs that the labor market generates, and base it based on where you are in Canada, in Toronto, in Ontario, rather than basing it on New Delhi or Pakistan and Lahore and Karachi. Even there, the situation has changed. And when you look at the changing labor market, then you focus your energies and you start persuading and guiding your children. But my main point is let your kids decide. MBA is not for everyone. If you see $100,000 starting salary, it doesn't mean that you should give up everything else. The best thing to do is follow your passion. If your passion is in art, then follow that, because you want to have a happy life, and happiness is easier to achieve when you do what you like to do.
By the way, you brought in LUMS from Pakistan, and you talk about packages. Mr. Haider was here, and it's a good news that Packages bought shares of a packaging company here in Canada.
Lovely.
And it's a very good news, though. Now, knowing so much about MBA and so much potential in it, in simple words, give us the way what is the application process and what is the criteria for Ryerson University? And I hope Ryerson, we are advocate of Ryerson now.
Okay. In one word, online. The whole application process is done online.
But I think
So
if you can
elaborate?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but the
Online is fine.
No, no.
Hey, go online. Good.
Our program is going to be only 5 minutes. Go online, buddy.
Yeah, so no, the big thing is, when I say online, I mean everything from start to finish, from transcripts to even the reference letters. We still refer to it as a reference letter, but it's actually done online. The application process with our school anyways will take about 30 minutes to complete. It's 150 Canadian dollars to apply to our program. You have 2 programs to choose from, either the MBA Global or the MBA MTI. And as for the academics, it's pretty standard across MBA schools. A B average, which is a 73%, GMAT score of a minimum 550 points, the completion of a 4-year undergraduate degree, a statement of interest, which is basically a 1-page essay on why you want to pursue a graduate study at this time. Letters of recommendation, which is really not letters. They're online forms that your referees will complete, and then an interview. So the interview is kind of unique. So it's an online interview. It's one way, similar to Skype. But what happens is you're going to be responding to pre-recorded questions that are standard interview questions to really, vague business, political questions, just to see, are you able to, put together a strong argument on the spot.
Teguh, Amit is a MBA recruitment advisor. You explained it very well.
Oh, okay.
Suppose if a mother or if a person is listening now and he is or she is grade 11 and 12 student, and we want to make them focus from right now. If you want to go to MBA, what a grade 11 and 12 grade student should be focused on to do to get into Ryerson University MBA program?
Well, right now they would have 4 years to figure out if an MBA is really what they want to do. On paper, it's a very attractive degree, but you really need to be sold on all the things that come along with the MBA. The MBA is great to have, but there's also a social side of the MBA, networking, being able to approach mature and senior leaders and have conversations with them. These are the things that you don't really learn in the MBA, but if you're uncomfortable with doing that, or if that's not really what you want to do, then you might want to look somewhere else. So my advice always is try to take a look at the school's alumni and just see what their profile is like. If they're working at organizations that you're interested in one day working with, like Tesla or IBM, and if that sounds like something that you want to do for 10, 15 years in your career, then maybe an MBA is right for you. But if you want to work for Microsoft, Xbox, maybe a game design is something that you would be more interested in. But the MBA is one of those unique graduate degrees that I like to refer to as a Swiss Army knife. You can really go into a lot of different fields with an MBA degree. Media, business, finance, banking. It really opens a lot
of avenues.
Yeah.
A lot of avenues. On a lighter mood, you just mentioned that about you need them to write a short essay about why they want to become or why they want to career in MBA. There must be some funny stories about it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you read that?
I do read them. The biggest one is when they're applying to multiple schools and they send me essays for Schulich, addressed to Schulich. That's the fun part, because then I follow up with an email saying I think you meant to send this to Schulich. But it's people will start talking about their family life and what's led them to pursue an MBA. Typically, it's family. Their fathers or their parents were in business and they want to grow their acumen in business as well, and one day lead a large organization. To individuals that are just looking to get
make
something.
Money. I just want to make money.
Yeah, exactly.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
Very good motivation to have. And the reason I say this, and I'm very unapologetic about it,
is that you cannot donate money if you don't make one.
You got it.
So if I admire Bill Gates because the way he has given away funds, I admire others who are big philanthropists. I admire Ted Rogers, who donated $15 million for us to run this program. If they had not made money in the first place, they would not have been able to give it.
Yeah.
So to do good on a massive scale, the kind of challenges that the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is tackling, eradicating polio from the world, you need deep pockets, and these deep pockets would only come if you build themselves by yourself. So it's a good motivation.
So if you want to change the world, get good education, get good place, get very well paid, and you can change the world. Is that right?
Well, it's one of the ways to do it. Or you get elected.
Stay tuned, we'll come back.
Welcome back again to SAAZ AWAZ, and very interesting, and I'm pretty sure you haven't switched to another channel because you want your kids.
This will make a difference in our life, and I request next segment or this segment, you must watch it very carefully. It will definitely change our children's future.
Again, Arfajit, the way you were talking about, coming from that part of the country, that part of the world to here, everybody thinks that, my kids should be doctor, engineers, or in those professions, and nobody talks about MBA. So my question to Dr. Haider, again, is there are so many other professions, but why MBA?
Well, first of all, unlike other professions such as engineering, and there's a higher barrier to entry. You're more likely to perform well in a master's program in engineering if you are an engineer, if your bachelor's is in engineering. MBA doesn't have that kind of restriction, and your performance in an MBA program and your career afterwards is not contingent upon what you did exactly in your undergraduate program. So that's one. But more importantly, if you look at the economy around us, there's a greater need for managers because the private enterprise continues to grow and expand, and as the private enterprise grows, and even in the public sector, the demand for managers continues to increase. And there's an unmet need at this stage that has been the case for decades, and it's unlikely to change in the future. And hence, an MBA is a good consideration for most people who did not even consider an MBA as their final destination or final degree that they will achieve. The fact that it has humongous dividends, financial dividends, is just a plus.
Again, let me get back to Teguh here for 1 second, even though you and I both know that Ryerson is not paying for anything of these things. But because he's our guest here today, why Ryerson in particular? Dr. Haider talked about it and you talked about it, but I'll let you have a few minutes of your time, then plug in. Why Ryerson?
Well, really, Ryerson is focused on the individual. We are not really worried too much about filling every single seat. Our classroom is about 45 students on average. We will intake about 110 students every year. That's a combination of full-time and part-time students, domestic and international students. So there's a real focus on quality rather than quantity. It's not the same at other business schools that you go to. So by doing this, we really focus on the individual, from career services, from student support. It allows our students to engage with the program and our faculty that they couldn't do in other programs. I mean,
so it's not necessarily how much you're paying for it, but it is the quality. Is that
That's
what it
what
means?
my concern was, as Dr. Murtaza in the beginning mentioned, there are some places where this MBA is in 100,000, whereas in Ryerson it is 30,000.
Yeah.
So no matter what the price difference is, no matter, there is no compromise in the long run for the placement.
No, I mean, we have dedicated career staff just for the MBA that works with them from orientation, actually. But we support our students in other ways. We're one of the only schools that sends our students on case competitions, and we pay for their airfare, we pay for their hotels. I mean, if you add up every single thing that we pay for our students' support, I mean, it would be much higher in the tuition.
I want to say something. I think at the end of the day, people matter. And the reason I say this is because I know this from all good programs, how individuals make a huge difference. We have colleagues like Professor Dale Carl, who would be here in the dead of winter preparing students for their MBA competitions. He'll be here on Christmas Day, he'll be here on 1st of January if it needs dedicated individuals. And that shows, because when the students get a chance, the first chance they got when we took over, Ryerson took over the Maple Leaf Gardens, the student bought a seat in the Maple Leaf Gardens and dedicated to his name. Right, Professor Dale Carl. And the same is true with colleagues, similar colleagues in other MBA programs who have tremendous amount of dedication and commitment to our students. And that's what makes Ryerson different, because we just don't take you as a student. We have a vested interest in your success. A lot of our students are from families where no one had gone to a university before. So we know that what we do with these individuals will make a huge difference, not in their personal lives, but in the lives of their families. And in general, as they go out and contribute to the larger economy, they make a stronger nation. And we feel that. We just don't say it. We believe in it, because that's what Ryerson's roots are. We are an institution that doesn't take pride in being an Ivy League institution. It's an institution that takes pride in being a working class individual's school. And that's what it is. Toronto, 51% of the people were born outside of Canada. We may not be the University of Toronto, but we are the University for Toronto.
As I said in the beginning that, and I requested all my brothers and sisters to listen or watch this segment very carefully, because there are tips in it. Would you please share with us that what do they need to get into MBA in the Ryerson University? What is needed to have in their hands?
So let me say it rather more broadly, and let's forget about any individual university. If you are an applicant, pay attention, because this is not told elsewhere. You will never hear about it, so this is it. At any given year, there are about 9,000 people doing an MBA in Canada, in the universities in full-time, part-time programs. So 9,000. But in a given year, in a given admission cycle, there are only roughly 1,800 people who actually meet the criterion for the MBA admission from within Canada. And there are 3 requirements. You have to have an undergraduate degree with a B+. You need a GMAT score with a minimum of 550, and you have to have a work experience of 2 years. That criterion within a given 12-month period is only fulfilled by maybe 1,800, 2,000 people in Canada. So there are far more, I would say 4 more spots for every eligible candidate from Canada. So if you are listening to this program and you are a Canadian thinking about an MBA, let me tell you right now that you prepare for the GMAT exam, take a course with any of these companies that offer these courses, get the good prep, and then write the GMAT. And if you get a 650 on your GMAT test, and you have a 2 years work experience with a B+ average, you are pretty much guaranteed admission in any program of your choice across Canada. Why? Because we have more positions, more spots than eligible applicants from Canada. So this would lead to the next question. If there are more spots, who fill those positions? Well, we have a large intake from across the globe. We have people coming in from China, we've got people coming in from India, a large number of contingent applicants come from Europe and former Soviet Union. So you know that there are more seats than applicants from Canada. Given that you are here, given that you know the education system, given that you know the environment in which education or higher education occurs, you are much more positioned, much better positioned for success in an MBA application and post-MBA as a career. So there are more positions than applicants. Just make sure that you have a good GMAT score.
So students can apply from Pakistan as well. They can go online and they can apply. What is? Yes. Sir?
Yeah, so with us, at least, we don't deal with any agents in other countries. So if anybody from Pakistan, India, Bangladesh is interested in the MBA, they can just call me directly, email me directly, Skype with me, and then we can start the application process.
They can go online as well and contact you?
Exactly, yeah. My contact information is on.
This is very important. Even if your family, friends, relatives, they are anywhere, they are in Pakistan, it's a request, and I think we will put this email address or this website on the screen.
But on the other hand,
Go to that website, apply, stay in contact with Teguh, and there might be something for
But
you.
here you said that you need B plus 2 years of professional experience and GMAT. So how do you deal with that coming from Pakistan?
So universities abroad will be on a centralized database that a lot of universities in North America and Canada will use. So as long as the school in your home country is recognized by the Ministry of Education, it should be on that database. And then our admissions officer will be responsible for converting your degree from Pakistan or India, Bangladesh into a Ryerson scale. But we have tools available. So they're generic tools that we can share with you to see, if you're coming from this region, this is ideally where your GPA should be or your grades should be. So those
We
are
are very happy, and I request please look at your television screen, go to these websites and contact them. Apply. We are going to give your email address
Yeah,
as
that's
well.
fine.
Dr. Murtaza, thank you very much. It was such an informative program, and I think if parents or the students go to this website, they can apply, and it can change their future.
Absolutely. I think the goal should be to follow your instincts, follow your passion. We're certainly not saying that MBA is the only route forward. We're saying that if you are inclined, if you have sort of an intuitive curiosity towards businesses and creating private enterprise, growing businesses, and if you have an interest in managing technology, then yes, MBA is certainly for you. But it doesn't really mean that if you were interested in medicine and law or engineering, that you should forego your natural instincts. Focus on what you have, and I think, but if you follow your dreams, if you follow and if MBA is on that path, it's a wonderful career to have. It opens up a whole world of opportunities, not only in terms of opportunities for places. Already our students have started to go and work globally. The world has become a very small place, and MBA helps to make this globe even smaller for you.
There are other options, but careers, उसमें कहते हैं opportunities, leadership, income, and so many things. Pay attention. Go to this website. Even though if you are in Pakistan, India, or Bangladesh, you can apply now.
You got it. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Teguh and Dr. Haider, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Dr. Saab, we'll see you next week again.
Absolutely.
And with a
आज के प्रोग्राम में please give us today इजाज़त. अगले प्रोग्राम में फिर मुलाकात होगी. तब तक अल्लाह.
Khudafis.